Hey guys, welcome to today's video. And in today's video, we'll be covering how to make an eating system inspired by Fears to Fathom games. So when I interact, I can start eating the food by holding down a key, and it progressively starts eating the food, and eventually it finishes, and we're back to normal. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is import all of the food assets that we'll be needing. So we're going to need separate assets, not one big combined static mesh. We want separate static meshes for each of the components. So a separate one for the tray and a separate one for each of the items you're going to have on the tray. So I'm having only 2 items, but the process can be replicated for more items even. But right now I'm just going to have a burger and a drink, pretty simply. So I'm just going to right click inside the content browser and then look for a blueprint class and then select actor. We can call this BP food. Then I can double click to enter. And then inside the content browser, I'll just grab these 3. Now I'll drag them into the scene like this. So we can see the can and the tray have spawned correctly, but my burger mesh is actually really big. So I'm gonna need to scale that down. You see that's a little small. So I'll make it bigger. And once I've got it to size that I'm okay with, we'll keep it like this. I might actually reduce the size of the tray a little bit. Okay, so this looks good. I'll just make sure everything is looking correct. And we can place this in the world to see its relative size. Okay, so it's decent. It looks a little big, but it's alright. So the next thing we're going to need to do is just click on the default scene root, and we want to add another component, but this time it's going to be a camera. The reason we're going to use this camera is so that we can zoom onto the meal as we're eating it. So I guess I'm going to make it a little higher and point it downwards. And we can actually see how this looks by going into the world and clicking on the object over here, and then the camera shows up over here. So I want my camera to be on this side. So I like how this looks, so I'm going to leave it like this. And all the models that I'm going to use, they're going to be in the description below. So the next thing we're going to need to do is go back into BP food over here. And then we want to click on where it says BP food and self. So the very top of the hierarchy over here. Then in the details panel, we want to look for tag. And we want to add a tag over here. And we can just call it whatever we want. So I'll call it food. And make sure the tag is under actor and not anything else. So now inside your BP first person character, you want to go to wherever you have your line trace or interaction system. So this is some pretty simple code. I'll have it in the description, or you guys can pause and just copy it over here. But since I'm reusing this from one of my other projects, I'm just going to continue from here. So at the end of this branch, I'm going to get another branch, and here essentially the code starts from this branch. So the condition is going to be actor has tag. And then this tag over here is going to be the same tag we added over here. So it's food. So I'll just copy that and I'll paste it in here. Then the target, you can drag this up into the break hit result and plug it into hit actor. So essentially what this branch is going to do is it's going to call this code if it's detected that the line trace has hit this food tray over here. So out of true, we're going to get a do once. So it only happens once. We can only eat once. And then we want to right click above and we want to get player controller. And then we want to set ignore look input. Sorry, we want to set ignore look input, not reset. And then we want to make sure to tick this. Even though it makes it seem like it's turning on look input, this is actually turning off look input. And the reason we turn the look input off is so that when we're inside the other camera, just our player can't do any funny things. And then the same thing we're going to drag out and we're going to set ignore move input so the character can't move around as they're eating. Then the next thing, again out of get player controller, we'll set view target with blend. Then the new view target, we're gonna drag and we'll bring this up and we want to place it into hit actor over here. So essentially it's going to change our camera into the food camera that we created over here. And the blend time, we'll put it to 1 second so it has a smooth transition. So we can test this out now. When I go up here and click my interact key, I've moved into the camera position that we defined over here, but actually I want it to be, now I realize I want it to be down a little bit. So I guess this is okay. So we can try it again now. As we see, we're now in the eating position. The next thing we want to do is we want to create a new variable. So one sec, I'm just going to move this code to the side. So we want to create a new variable, and then we'll call this variable can eat. So this will essentially tell us if we're allowed to eat or not. So then we want to set this variable. So a quick way to do that is hold down Alt and drag it on, and it automatically goes to set. Then we want to set can eat to true, but actually first it's better we call a delay for 1 second. So if we can wait till the blend has finished to change the camera, and then we can set can eat. The next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to create a variable for the food percentage. So we're going to have a percentage bar that can increase as the person holds down a certain key. So to control that percentage variable, we're going to create another variable in here, and we can just call it food percentage, and we want it to be an integer. The next thing you want to do is go into your content browser and then inside any of your directories, but here I'm just going to keep it with all the food assets. I'll right click and then scroll down and get to user interface. We want to get a user blueprint and click on user widget. So I'm just going to call this widget food. Then we can double click to enter. Then we want to get a canvas panel, and we want to zoom out, and we want to scale this to fit the largest screen size. And then we want to get a progress bar, and we can scale this to the size that we wish, and we can set the alignment to 0.5 and 0.5, and then select the anchor center, and then set the position X as 0 and the position Y as 400. I think I'll keep it 300 so it's a little bit higher. So we can actually test out this progress bar. So we can change the fill color over here. I'm going to keep mine green. And then this percentage over here, we're going to tie this to a variable later on. But over here, as you can see, instead of it being like 90 or 10%, the bar is still completely filled. We need it to be a decimal, so like sort of 0.1, 0.2, and 0.5, so on. So it's actually a decimal, not a percentage. So I'm just going to keep this to 0 for now. Then I'm going to add some text, and then the text just going to say, so I'm going to use the C key to consume, so my text is going to say C to consume. And then I'm going to size to context, and I'll set the alignment to 0, 0, the anchor to center, and then the position X is 0, and then I can move this down a little bit, and I'll probably increase the size as well. Okay, so this is looking good for how I want it to be. So we can close this, we won't close this tab, we'll just drag it next to the BP first person character. Then out of set can eat over here, we're just going to drag out and we're going to create widget, and the class is going to be the widget food. Then we're going to get out of return value and add to viewport. And we can compile and save. So let's check this out. And we go over here and click our interact key, changes the camera, and then where the widget shows up. So now we're going to tie the percentage over here to the variable that we have over here, the food percentage variable. So I'm just going to click on this link button over here when you click on your progress bar, and click on create binding. This return value over here, we're going to promote to variable, and we can just call this food percent bar, and then we can compile and save. The main thing we need to do is go into the event graph over here, And out of event tick, we want to cast to BP first person character. The object is going to be get player character. Now, as a BP first person character, we're going to get this food percentage variable we set over here. So we're going to get food percentage. Then this variable over here at the side, the food percentage bar that we just created in this binding, we're going to set this. So we can alt drag to set it. And then we want to set it to the integer we have over here. So we can actually test this out. So I'm just going to set this to 0.5. Oh, sorry, I think we should change this to a float first. So we can set it to a decimal number. So I'm going to set it to 0.5. And then it should set the progress bar automatically to 0.5. But let's see what's going on. Okay, so we don't need that anymore, and we can just plug this straight into here, and it should be working now. And as you see, now it's successfully linked from the BP first person character. Now the next thing we're going to need to do is actually create the logic for holding down the consume key. In my case, it's C. So just go anywhere in your BP first person character. Then we want to right click and we want to get the key. So for me, I'm going to search for C key. Just going to scroll down till I find it over here, C. Then out of pressed, I'm going to look for set timer by event. Then the time is going to be the however long you want the increment of the increase to happen. So I wanted an increment of an increase to happen every 0.5 seconds. In this event over here, we're going to add drag out, and we want to add custom event, and we can call this increase food percentage. And we want to set this to looping as well. So we can just save this. Now we want to get a branch from the increase food percentage event. Then the condition, first we want to get this food percentage. We want to not equal to 1. We can plug this into the condition. So it will only run when the food percentage is not 1, which essentially is 100%. So if it's false, actually what we're going to do is we're going to get this return value, and we're going to clear and invalidate timer by handle if it's false. We can break this link. I don't know why that came there. And then we want to also set the can eat variable to false after the food's been eaten. So then the next thing we're going to need to do is out of true, first we're going to get the food percentage. Sorry, we're going to set the food percentage to the food percentage. So we'll get it this time plus 0.1. So 0.10% every time, every 0.5 seconds. Actually, I might increase this a little bit. And then out of this pressed, first we also want to get a branch. And then the condition should be can eat. So it will only work if they can eat. So just to test if this is working, I'm just going to, out of here, I'm going to get print. Then I'm just going to print the food percentage to check if it's working. And I'm just going to set can eat to true by default so we can see. So I'm going to hold down C right now. 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. So as you see, it's increasing, but the reason it started from 0.6 is actually I just remember the default value has been set to 0.5. So now if we test it, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and 1, and it should stop. Okay, so it keeps going, so we just want to figure out what's going on. Okay, so I found the issue. So instead of it being not equal to 1, we want to get another condition. We want to get less than 0.9. And then also when we release, we want to clear and invalidate the timer by handle, just so it doesn't continue even when we release. So we can test this out now. So when I hold down C, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and 1, and it stopped. We can also check this out. So now when I click here, When I hold down C, as you see, it's increasing as the numbers go up, and actually when I release, it stops increasing. So now we can see it's starting to work pretty well. So the next thing we want to do is we want to create the logic where it removes the food gradually off the tray as we progress through the percentage bar. So inside your BP food that we created, go to your event graph, and we'll create an event, add custom event, and we'll call this remove burger. And then I'll drag out from burger and destroy component. Then I can just plug this into here. And then I'll also just remake this, add custom event, and I'll call this remove drink. And then I'll get the drink, and I'll destroy component as well. And now back to our BP first person character. Inside our increase food percentage event, out of this true over here, I'm just going to get another branch. Then the condition is going to be if the food percentage is equal to 0.5. So if it's at 50%. So at 50%, we want to remove the first item. So actually, we'll take this out of this true. We'll plug the true back into set food percentage. We want to bring this to the end over here. We can bring this variable over here. So if it's 0.5%, we want to, out of true, we want to get actor of class. Then this actor is going to be our BP food, this actor over here. And the return value, we want to remove burger. Call this function remove burger. So let's test this out. When I interact over here, and now when it reaches 50%, it should remove the burger from the tray. And as you see, it's worked like that. So we want to remove the drink at 100%. So we don't need to create a separate event for that. We can just go over here to this false that we made over here, because this runs when it's at 100%. We want to get actor of class, and the actor should be BP food again. And then we want to this time remove drink. And then let's just add a delay for 1 second, and then we can bring the character back to their normal state. So you want to go up here and get player controller, and then we want to set ignore look input to false. Then we want to set ignore move input also to false. And then out of get player controller, we want to set view target with blend, and then the new view target, it's get player pawn. And then out of this, we want to get all widgets of class, and the widget class should be your widget food. And out of found widgets, we want to get for each loop, sorry. Then the array element, you want to drag out and search for remove from parent, plug that into loop body. So that should be it. Essentially what's happening here is when it reaches full, it's going to first invalidate the timer, so we can't do it anymore, and we're going to set the can eat variable to false, so we can't eat anymore. Then it's going to cast to the BP food tray over here, and it's going to remove the drink from the custom event we made over here. And then we're going to wait 1 second, and we're going to essentially bring back all the functionality to our normal first person character and just remove the widget. So let's try it now. I'm going to click on E to interact, and as you see, the widget's shown up. And when I hold down C, the progress bar starts moving. When I reach 50%, the burger goes. When I reach 100%, the drink goes as well. And so, the problem here is when you set the blend time to 1 over here. And now it should be working perfectly. And actually, we don't need it to print the food percentage anymore, so we can just remove that and plug this into the branch, and it will be working perfectly now. So when I click, I move into here, I can hold down C to consume, then it moves and it moves and it moves, It continues till the end. Drink's gone. And then we are back to our normal first person character. So thank you guys for watching this tutorial. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And please check out my other tutorials like how to create this functioning car. Thank you guys for watching.